Let's talk about sweat. Welcome to the Sweatuationship. And we have a guest all the way from Southern California. Now, let me just give you a brief description. You know me, every time I bring a guest on board, I have to let you know how we connected, how I touched base with my guest. We connected on Instagram. As simple as that. Uh, I believe I followed them and they followed back. Me being me, I have to do my research because that's what I do. I love bringing credible information and people who can give you more. Our mantle is to give you more information so that you're not at a position to be used or be taken advantage of. We want you to understand hyperhidrosis from a wider scale, and our goal is to approach and look at it from wider perspective, right? So we met on Instagram, and what made me interested so much, apart from the amazing content, there's a post I saw where they were talking about what are your sweat goals, and I was like, how did they beat me on that? It was supposed to come from us, but hey, look. Right. So there's a video I watched of our guest with a specialist, a dermatologist by the name of Meredith. I hope I've said her name correctly. And they were talking about hyperhidrosis treatment, both mostly non-invasive. Mm-hmm. But what drew me more closer is the part where they covered the misinformation and misconception of hyperhidrosis, related to hyperhidrosis, which our guest is going to talk more about. So without further ado, I want our guest to introduce himself. So the camera is yours.
Jumbo Gialongo Dan from Southern California. Thank you so much for having me today. I am really excited to join in the hyperhidrosis conversation because, as you mentioned, really before we got started, your goal is to spread awareness. And because with this condition, it doesn't discriminate. It's not based on who you are, where you live, how much money you have. This affects people of all ages, races, religions, and it's something that really is a struggle. And unless you live with hyperhidrosis or excessive sweating, it's often really difficult to understand those challenges. And so it's great what you're doing here. I love that we get to contribute with this because over here in the States, we are constantly trying to spread awareness, educate both patients and doctors on what's happening to you and ultimately what are some of your options.
Karibu sana, welcome on board family. This is Dan all the way from Southern California. He has joined us today. Dan, tell us more about your brand.
Sure. So we are RA Fischer. We're actually the original name in iontophoresis. So we've been around for a little over 30 years now, and iontophoresis is an all-natural home treatment for treating hyperhidrosis. So hyperhidrosis, as we've already mentioned, is that excessive sweating medical condition. And there are a lot of options out there nowadays, ranging from oral medications, wipes, topicals, even invasive surgeries, Botox injections, all types of things. And so with our device, it's an at-home machine that you'd have that plugs right into your wall that allows patients with excessively sweaty hands, feet, as well as the underarms, and even craniofacial to be able to treat right at home, to not have to go in to see a doctor, to not have to go through anything that's too intensive. And it's a very simple 20-minute treatment. And for most patients that we work with, once they reach their maintenance schedule, it's something that they only have to do once every 2 to 4 weeks to maintain their dryness. So unlike a lot of other options out there, it's not something that you have to do every day or have to keep going back to your doctor to get a refill of a prescription for or anything like that. It's something that you really can be self-sufficient on. And as I said, we're the original name in this. We've been doing this for over 30 years. And just this past year, we launched a brand new device that is, in my opinion, that next evolutionary step in the technology, which is removing the metal electrode plates from the equation. Because for this entire time, since the 1950s, actually, when iontophoresis was discovered for treating hyperhidrosis, all devices have really looked the same. have operated the same with these metal plates that corrode because they're in water. And as they corrode, they become less effective. So with our new device, we've removed that component entirely. It's now a silicone graphite material. So our device is now significantly safer, easier, and more effective for hyperhidrosis patients.
Awesome. Those are some great news. I don't even know. I can't even add or remove anything. Simply amazing, but we'll expound more.
Yeah.
Dan, your take on the misconception and the misinformation on hyperhidrosis.
I think it's one of those things where it starts at a very early age. You know, kids, when they talk to their parents or they mention it, you know, maybe you have a grandparent who says, "That's just clammy hands. Oh, you're just nervous. You're just anxious," you know, and these are things that when we hear them often enough at a young age, it becomes ingrained and we convince ourselves of these things. And so it's often very difficult for people just to get over that and to realize that, hey, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to talk to a doctor about your excessive sweating and about some of your struggles. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. There are literally millions of people across this entire world that struggle with this. That's really the very first challenge that patients have to overcome, is that initial misconception that, oh, this is just normal, this is just a me thing, when it's not just a you thing. This is a large hyperhidrosis community thing. And so that's where we really encourage people to talk to their doctors, to seek people too that have the right answers, because I think we've all been there where we Googled something and we tried to educate ourselves almost too much on a topic, and you almost don't know where really to get the information that you can trust. So we always recommend that patients check out not only our website, the RA Fischer website, also check out the International Hyperhidrosis website at sweathelp.org. Is a great resource where you can educate yourselves on a lot of options, as well as the benefits of iontophoresis.
We can both agree that hyperhidrosis and other sweat-related issues, but our focus is more on hyperhidrosis. We can both agree that it's debilitating, especially on the person who lives with it. One of the greatest or the major challenge that I face right here in Kenya is trying to explain to parents about the struggles that their children are going through.
Right.
And I'm talking about young adults, people who are in campus, who for the better part of their lives, they've been constantly trying to have that conversation, explaining to their parents that this is what I'm going through, this is how it makes me feel. But because of lack of that support, which, by the way, I need to ask you, have you ever heard of the immediate support system?
The immediate support system? No, I haven't.
Okay. I will fill you in on it. So
Okay.
they lack a support system, which is the immediate support system. And throughout their adult life, now they're in campus and they're still experiencing the same. Number one, a greater percentage don't even know what they have is a medical condition. They are not even aware of it as hyperhidrosis. They thought it was just something normal that will, disappear with time. But as time progresses and as they age, they noticed this sweat is not going anywhere. It's like a spouse was refused to give you a divorce. So this sweat is not going anywhere. It's a part of me.
I'm always amazed at the systems that we create for ourselves, because hyperhidrosis, yes, it's a physical condition, but it's not just a physical. Really, that excessive sweating can be detrimental to mental health, whether it's, having difficulty forming relationships, whether it's sports that kids previously enjoyed that they can no longer do. Some patients even try to figure out their career paths based on their symptoms, and they go, okay, well, I love this, but I don't want to have to shake people's hands, or I can't wear this type of clothing, and so I can't do that. Let me figure out a job that I can do. And it's always sad to hear that, because you never want a medical condition to really dictate the possibilities. And so that's what I find, that iontophoresis and treating hyperhidrosis is really about opening up individuals to possibilities and not forcing them to really pigeonhole themselves down a specific path and rely on these systems. I've had patients who have worn fake casts for interviews and meetings that's why they don't have to shake hands. I've had patients who saran wrapped their feet underneath of their socks, and that's just how they had to get by. And at the end of the day, it's not about these systems working for us. It's about finding an overall solution so that you don't have to manage that every day, because that's so stressful, having to keep up with these lies and these systems. And how are we, putting towels underneath of your underarms when they start to get too sweaty? And so really, we want to help patients find that solution that is a long-term solution, and that's something that they can be self-sufficient with.
Just to explain to you, the immediate support system comprises of parents, guardians, spouses, and the people you surround yourself with. And it doesn't end there. It extends to employers, employees, the people in your circle. But when we focus more on the main support system, which is the family unit, your parents, the support they provide now as the immediate support system, it's very therapeutic, and it's pivotal. And you cannot equate it to any form of treatment, because that's something that stays with you and you channel it back to someone else. So when you have that foundation, it doesn't matter what you go through, you have a cornerstone, you have a foundation, you have a support system, you have people who, even if you get bullied on the outside, when you come back home, because the worst form of bullying is the one that starts in the family.
Absolutely.
So when the immediate support system exists and it supports and it provides that therapy, as they age, the support system also does the research, and it also encourages them to try these treatments. Start from the entry level, the topical treatments, and then they advance with the levels up to the iontophoresis. A lot of people now lack that support. So they operate on their own in total isolation. So they have to do the research. They have to figure out where am I going to start? Who's going to advise me on where or what to start with? And this is where now Hyperhidrosis Awareness Kenya comes in, where we give you content and then we give you solutions. We don't operate on cure or permanent solution, because I don't like lying to people.
Right.
It's a reflection of myself. So I can't lie to people. Myself, I have primary focal hyperhidrosis. So the information I'm giving my family, the hyperhidrosis family, is the same information that I apply in my own life. So the immediate support system is like an umbrella, which we should all have, and we yearn for it, but only a few have access to that type of support. So from today onwards, that's the immediate support system. I think it's something.
Great. Yeah, I love that you're providing that for people. And I always encourage people, patients, to go on social media too. And you'd be surprised at how many hyperhidrosis support groups there are, where you can just engage and just hear stories and realize, again, I think a lot of it is just understanding at first that you are not alone. This is not a you problem. And once you can get over that first challenge, it's much easier to talk to others, to seek help, and to find that solution for you.
Do you have hyperhidrosis yourself?
I don't personally, but we do the treatments here in office. I've actually gotten the chance to attend hyperhidrosis master classes in Washington, D.C. with leading dermatologists from all around the country discussing different treatment options. I've seen the Botox injections done in the hands and the feet, very gruesome stuff. And so, I have a lot of insight into those things. And just from having talked to thousands of patients over my time of doing this, I do feel very connected to people. And I'm telling you, there's no more rewarding thing in what I do than when I get an email from a patient with an update that tells me, wow, after struggling my whole life with this, and I thought that there was no other options, that finally this is working for me. Finally, I was able, and sometimes it's small things. It's just, I was able to wear that pair of shoes. I was able to go out on that date. I was able to get that job. I worked with a nursing school student who was going to drop out of school because gloves were an issue, medications dissolving in the hands was an issue. Patients didn't want them to touch them. And so luckily getting them this device allowed them to stay on track and to graduate. We had talked about, right, the idea of hyperhidrosis not just being physical, but being something that limits options in life. And so that was an example of where that patient was almost at that point, and luckily we were able to, get them this device and open them up to more possibilities. And so it really does start with having that support system, as you said, whether it's the family, friends, doctors, online, finding out first, get over that idea that you are not alone.
Let us talk about your brand. Let's talk about the iontophoresis machine itself. I went through your website, which is very interesting, by the way. I encourage you guys to visit their website. You will learn a lot. I saw you cater for both personal and practice. Iontophoresis machine that can be used for personal use. And you also have those designed for practice. Or for me, I consider them for commercial use, but on the medical side. How do they function?
Yeah, so it's actually one device now. So our newest device is the Fischer, and it is available for both at-home use, which is most patients that we deal with are getting this for at home. However, we do deal with doctors and clinics who end up getting one of the devices to be able to treat patients in office. It's nice because that way patients can get familiar with it. They can treat a couple of times. They can understand how it works before making that decision to get one for their own home. So there's no technical differences between the two devices. Really, as I mentioned before, the game changer is that metal-free concept and moving to a silicone graphite electrode. The other big thing is with our new device, palmar and plantar hyperhidrosis patients or hands and feet excessive sweating strugglers can actually treat their hands and feet at the same time now. So previously with traditional setups, you had to do 20 minutes for your hands minimum, then set it up on the floor and do 20 minutes for your feet separately. So you were looking at a total of 40 minutes for a session. Now with our device, you have one tray on a table, you do both hands in the tray, you'll have both feet in the tray on the floor, and you're now treating for just a flat 20 minutes. So it's nice, it's much more convenient. You're cutting those treatment session times in half. In terms of the technology of it, there's a lot of different opinions on whether direct current or pulsed current iontophoresis is preferable. I can speak from experience and having referenced case studies and clinical trials. Direct current is the most effective delivery method of iontophoresis. However, for patients with skin sensitivities, maybe just overall sensitivities to pain, pulsed current is a nice option because it does allow for a more comfortable treatment experience. Now, traditionally, when patients were looking to get a device, you had your options, kind of like car buying. You go with the automatic or the stick shift, okay? And with our device, what we wanted to do is basically offer patients the benefits of both in one machine. And so the new Fischer has both a direct current setting and a pulsed current setting. So patients can start out treating on direct current for the fastest results and then transition over time into a pulsed current. So as you're doing this long term, it can be a more comfortable experience for you.
Right. We are learning something today, because that was supposed to be my next question about if there are plans for an upgrade of the iontophoresis machine that you have, and you've already answered the question since the beginning.
Yeah, the new Fischer really is the upgrade. So for the past 30 years, we've offered patients our traditional MD1 and MD2 models. So if anyone's ever seen them out there, and it's just within this last year that we launched the new Fischer with that metal-free concept. Also, a lot of these safety innovations, whether it's anti-shock guard technology that's put into there. Also an active treatment display, so patients can visually see on the screen that the device is working and they're not just trying to feel it out whether it's working for them or not. Even in terms of the functionality, we looked at a lot of the design of both our device as well as other devices out there, and many of them were overly complicated, and there were too many buttons and too many things, and so we really streamlined that user interface. The Fischer is just a 3-button interface. So it's very easy to get set up, and it has a one-touch memory. So basically, after you've used the device one time, patients are always just one button press away from treating, moving on there, because it remembers all of your previous treatments settings.
Is it designed only for the American market, or anyone can use it from other parts of the world? That's number one. Number two, and correct me if I'm wrong, the American voltage system is 110?
Yes, great question. So the Fischer is both
The Kenya,
Yep,
sorry.
and 220 volts. So it's all good. It is ready for the world. And so we do ship these all over the world. So whether you have 110 volt or 220 volt, and then even we include an adapter for the outlet for the plug itself. And so right out of the box, the Fischer does integrate, is internationally ready without you having to buy any converters or adapters.
Because I think it's important that we have cleared this out. You don't want a situation whereby someone has invested in an iontophoresis machine and then they end up frying it in their own homes. You know,
right?
Plugged it
Absolutely.
in, then it smokes. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
And previously, you had the 220 and the 110 volt models, and they had to be separate. But now, again, our goal was to really get everything down to be as simple as possible. That's with one really superior device. So whether it's the Fischer having both direct and pulsed current, being 110 and 220 volt compatible, we really looked at creating something that would be the final, the ultimate solution for a lot of people.
Well, when we started this conversation, I told you as HAK, Hyperhidrosis Awareness Kenya, we are more focused on the non-invasive forms of treatment because of, the crazy side effects that comes with the invasive treatments. Mine is to focus more on the non-invasive because I want people living with this condition to go out there and claim the world. I want them to go out there and pursue their dreams, their goals, and all these things that make up life. So I was going through your website, and there is a tab where there is the brand, the iontophoresis, versus topical treatment versus all this other stuff. So there is this question. I've been bombarded by this question over and over. I've tried to give my own view, my own point of view, my own explanation. And I've also done research and sat down with some of the best dermatologists that I have had the pleasure and the opportunity to sit down with for them to clarify. At what point does the topical treatments become harmful and dangerous?
Sure. So really that depends on the patient. It could be at any point. For some patients, they may try those topicals right away and have an adverse reaction, whether it's an allergic reaction, just some sort of skin reaction to it. Sometimes they dry you out too much and your skin just becomes crackly and kind of frail. There's also, if it's a topical wipe, it can only be used in certain areas, and you have to wash your hands very thoroughly, because if you touch your eyes, it can actually lead to something called blown pupil. I've dealt with a patient personally who was a younger patient, was in school, and actually got pulled out of class because the teacher thought that they might be on drugs because their pupils were so dilated the whole time. And so there's a lot of adverse things that can come. Some patients, especially here in the States, we are able to work with insurance companies often to get the iontophoresis device covered for patients. However, in those cases, insurance companies often like to see that patients have gone through other treatment alternatives first before they'll cover the iontophoresis device. So in cases like that, a patient may say, all right, well, you know what, I'll try the topical for just the minimum amount of time that my doctor requires it, and then I'll try this next thing, and then I can get my iontophoresis device. Other patients, just right away, the doctor will explain their options to them, and they don't want to go that route. Whether it's they don't want to rely on having to get a new prescription once a month, or the messiness of it, having to do it daily, and on top of all the other side effects and things that we've mentioned. And that's just, topicals alone. Oral medications, same adverse side effects, to where, sure, maybe you don't sweat as much, but you have difficulty going to the bathroom, or you're, crying, your eyes are just so dry, your mouth is just so unbearably dry. The scariest one of all of those options is ETS surgery. It's what most doctors would consider kind of the last ditch effort. Involves actually severing part of the nerves so to stop the sweating. However, in order to do this, doctors actually have to partially collapse the lung in order to do this. So it is very invasive. It's also not highly effective. So for for a large number of patients, it's not a final, end all be all thing that works for them. And worse off, a lot of patients experience what's called compensatory sweating, which is their hands no longer sweat, but now suddenly they're sweating uncontrollably in the groin area, or just, maybe even just, sorry about that, just one side of what they're doing. And it's then irreversible. So it's not something that you can then go and fix or treat. It's just, that's how it is. And that's very scary for a lot of people. And so there's a lot of information out there, even from the hyperhidrosis community, trying to warn, other patients away from that surgery. And iontophoresis then fits very nicely into all of those options because it's all natural. So for those that don't know how iontophoresis works, you can imagine your skin is a sponge and you have all these holes where your sweat is just seeping out of all the time. What iontophoresis does is it introduces a mild electrical current into the water, and that electrical current pushes the minerals found in tap water into those holes in your skin to plug them up, basically. So you're creating an all natural dryness barrier using only the minerals found in tap water. So no chemicals, no injections, nothing synthesized or anything like that. And so that's why there are no serious side effects outside of some initial maybe redness or itchiness, which is just a sign that the treatment is working. So that's first and foremost, is that it's safer. Ultimately, it's easier because it's not something you have to do every day. It's not something you have to worry about getting picked up from the doctor's office or refills and things like that. And you can go weeks at a time. Some patients go months at a time in between sessions to be able to maintain their dryness.
And with time, we're going to do a video on treatment, especially on both. We're going to do both invasive and non-invasive, but there will be a video only on non-invasive because I want people to understand once and for all, because I've been getting emails from Kenyans and other Africans from different African states asking and inquiring about ETS. And according to them, they believe that this is the only solution that they have for the excessive sweating. And when I asked them about the side effects, or rather where they read about ETS as a solution, they saw it online. Are there any testimonials? Yes, I saw a lot of testimonials about 1, 2, 3. What are the side effects? The side effects they give are just on the surface. But when I start going deep and showing them the real side effects, there are those who are still adamant that they want this surgery. So there is a lot that we need to put out there. And I really love the way we are shaping this conversation, because hyperhidrosis wasn't talked about many years ago. Right now we have people advocating for it, and that's why I'm doing these videos, so that I can bring in people who can, quote unquote, give more explanation and expound more, because I've been doing the same. I think sometimes it's good when it comes from a different mouthpiece. So we are going to organize, and it will be an honor to also have Meredith. I sent her a DM message, but I'm hopeful. I did.
Yeah, she's one of the doctors. We work with thousands of doctors out here in the States, and we've just recently, like yourself, partly due to COVID and everyone having to be separated, we've been trying to hold more interviews like this, talk to doctors, not just doctors, but also physicians' assistants about their experiences and things. And so, yeah, I'd be happy to try and connect you with Meredith. Okay.
We should do one, the three of us, and even include more, because we need to put this information out there. And, the challenges we face, just as long as you have hyperhidrosis, it doesn't matter whether you're in Southern California or Nairobi, Kenya, or any other part of the world, we face the same challenges. And with the right and correct information, we will end up making the right decisions, the right choices, especially when it comes to treatment. So still on the short-term forms of treatment, which is the entry-level topical treatments, still on the same topic, iontophoresis, your brand versus topical treatments, there's a part where you said, when combined with the correct antiperspirant, especially when you're treating your armpits, axillary hyperhidrosis with the iontophoresis, you can achieve a higher success rate. So we are not doing away completely with topical treatments because they're still viable. How do you combine? How do you combine both? How do you combine both and ensure that they give you that satisfactory results that you're looking for? How do you do it?
Sure. So it's really just about establishing a schedule and then sticking to it. So for most patients who struggle with hands, feet, and underarm sweating, as well as the facial sweating, iontophoresis is all encompassing. And so it's the only thing that they have to rely on. However, for some patients, maybe you also struggle with, abdominal sweating. Maybe it's the buttocks, maybe it's the groin, maybe it's just another part of your body, the back even, where a topical solution can come in handy because it helps then balance out the areas that iontophoresis can't treat. Also gives you some flexibility to where if you have any, flare-ups on the go, allows you to reach into a bag, apply something, and try to have just a quick one-off type of fix. I think of topicals sometimes as like Band-Aids to the solution, whereas iontophoresis is the real medicine, right? So that is what is really working with you to solve this situation. And topicals can just come in handy on that time to time for like quick little fixes, and as well as to fill in the gaps where iontophoresis may not be able to treat your specific symptoms.
How can we get your product?
Let's talk. We can get one sent on out to you. I can get you our best discount that we normally reserve for doctors who are doing it in clinic and things, and we can see about how we can work together to do more of this and spread this awareness. Again, I think what you're doing is fantastic and is very important because there is a lack of education out there, and there's a few places that people go, but there needs to be more because there's infinite ways that people are learning. For example, RA Fischer, we're even on TikTok now because we realize so many people are on TikTok, and we just want every opportunity that we can to educate people however we can to let them know you're not alone and that there are real solutions available out there.
Awesome. The organization you represent, have you guys done any hyperhidrosis awareness campaigns, or what are some of the activities that you have involved yourself in, and are there any achievements? What are the success rate? Have you been able to reach out to a specific number?
Absolutely. So we've been a frequent sponsor of the International Hyperhidrosis Society and supporting their efforts and what they do with their website and their overall hyperhidrosis awareness related activities. We also, prior to COVID, engaged very heavily in on-site events, doctors, conventions and things where we got the chance to connect with more dermatologists, with more doctors and physicians assistants to educate them, to spread that awareness that, hey, this is an option, and this is what's going on with some of your patients. But we've also, attended things like registered nurses conventions where let's talk to school nurses about how they can identify things in their students. Maybe it's just smudge marks on homework. How can they talk to the teachers and get the teachers involved with the parents to say, hey, I noticed the kids playing and they kept teasing so-and-so about being the sweaty kid. I think this is something that we all need to talk to a doctor maybe about, to try to get them some support. It is hard to establish those communication channels sometimes, but it is really important that people know that it's okay to talk about sweating. It's not something that we just have to immediately cast aside. So whether you're a school nurse, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, It's okay, let's speak up, let's get everyone involved in the conversation. And so those are some of the things that we do, and we do that through email campaigns, those on-site events. We also have what we call our patient referral package, and it is a package that we send out to doctors' offices that includes information, pamphlets on hyperhidrosis, iontophoresis, on how to refer patients to us. That's a big question I get from doctors as they say, I have this patient, what do I do next? So every patient that is sent to RA Fischer is assigned to a personal treatment specialist who takes over and serves as that patient's single point of contact. We'll look into the patient's insurance options. We will, review with them their treatment schedule, provide technical support, help them with seeking reimbursement from their insurance company if that proves to be their only route. So it's nice to have that, as you mentioned, support systems earlier. We like to consider ourselves an extension of that support system, and the patient's treatment specialist as really their go-to resource for all of this.
From my side, our mode of activation is cycling. When we launched in 2018, I did an hyperhidrosis awareness campaign where we cycled a total of 400 kilometers. That was the first event. We did a second event last year, and we do a lot of activation while cycling. We stop and interact with people. We ask them questions. Do you know of hyperhidrosis? So the name itself, they can't really put in, they can't understand until you start explaining what it entails. And that's where they're able to connect, So
right.
we're actually planning our next event. I'll share with you the details. We're planning to launch on September, but it's going to be around November. I'll share the details with you, but we do a lot of awareness campaigns. We also do videos. I do a lot of videos, content related to hyperhidrosis. I'll send you the link to our YouTube channel, and then you can go through and check. So it's a good thing that we've linked up. I'm so thankful for your time. I also look forward into partnership, partnering with you guys and try push this awareness game to the next level, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
What should we expect from your organization and your brand in the next 5 to 10 years from now?
Oh, that is a very good question. I think you'll see an expansion of some of the attachments and accessories that can integrate with an iontophoresis device to be more of a total body hyperhidrosis solution. I think you'll also see us working with more insurance companies, having a larger network, because when it comes to navigating insurance processes, it's often very confusing with what's in network, out of network, covered, not covered. So in the future, I think we're going to expand that and be able to offer that to more patients. And overall, just continue to innovate in terms of that education, the content, whatever new cool social media platform there is in 10 years, I'm sure we'll be on there too, because I think it's important to not just do the same things all the time, but do new things. People like to learn in different ways. So we'll take one question and we'll turn that into a video. We'll turn it into a white paper. We'll turn it into a blog article. And then so that way, it doesn't matter how the person likes to learn, they'll have an option for them. And so I think we'll see us developing more of that content and working with more influencers and networks like yourself to be able to continuously grow all of what we're doing.
Awesome. What will be your advice is done to people out there living with hyperhidrosis? What's your advice to them?
My number one advice we talked about a lot of things, but maybe my core advice is to not lose hope. I think it's so easy to lose hope, to go through everything, to see, I've talked to patients that have been to 10 doctors over 30 years and have tried everything under the sun, every topical and oral medication, a wipe, and everything that every doctor could. And it wasn't until either a new doctor, or maybe they just saw something on Instagram randomly in their feed, or they had a friend say, hey, did you see this thing? that they've heard about iontophoresis for the first time and found us. And for so many patients we work with, it's what finally gets them dry after everything else had failed. So I mentioned iontophoresis is 91% successful. It's probably even higher than that, to be totally honest with you. And really, it is just about patients not giving up, to continue to see doctors, to seek information online, to talk to people. If you find one doctor and they're refusing to write a prescription for something that you're interested in, find a different doctor. Go about other means of how you can go about pursuing some of those options, and just don't give up hope.
Is there anything you may want to add?
Geez, you put me on the spot with that one. Not that I can say right now. I love what I do. I love the patients and people that we get to work with. There's nothing more rewarding in the world than getting to hear from someone that this has worked for me or my child, and this is what I'm now, or we are able to do. It is very inspiring. And so we are a very close-knit team over here. We're very experienced, and we are still a family-owned organization. And so we really pride ourselves on kind of our personal relationships with our patients, always being transparent and just giving them their options. We don't ever try to sell to patients. We're more of just saying, hey, if this is the device you want to get, here are your routes to getting it, and let us know how we can be of help. And so I would recommend to anyone who is curious about hyperhidrosis iontophoresis, if you want to see what your options are, whether it's to treat the underarms, because, I didn't know iontophoresis could do underarms, or even the craniofacial. The facial attachment is from a third party and is very new, but is very exciting for a lot of people because there's been very few options for that facial sweating before. But please reach out to us. It's rafischer.com. Just fill out the form on our website, and one of our treatment specialists will reach out to you to discuss the next steps and hopefully get you some help.
Dan, thank you very much for giving us your time. And
of course, thank you for having me.
Representing your brand, explaining to us. And, we have also tackled the myths and all those other things. And be sure we're going to do more videos. This is more of an introduction. So brace yourself for more.
Look forward to it. And then when you're done with this one, you shoot it on over to me, and we'll share it on all our social channels and all that good stuff too, so we can help get the word out there. Okay?
I will. Absolutely, I will. I'm going to include your website link on our description box below.
Great.
Social media handles. Are you on Facebook?
We are. It's just RA Fischer Co. So RAFISCHERCO.
Okay. Much appreciated. Asante sana kwa wakati wako. Thank you for the interview. I've enjoyed it, and I'm pretty sure, and I know for a fact that the Hyperhidrosis family in Kenya and all those who reach out to us from different parts of the world, they are going to watch this interview. They're going to learn a lot. I will reach out to you. Definitely, I want to try your brand. I really do want to try. It's one of my plans. I want to get mine from next year. That's how.
Okay, great.
And from next year. So I will link up with you, and then you'll give me the different quotations and all that. I want to try, because one of the core values, or rather the mission, let me talk about the mission. The mission is to restore hope and confidence. And it's all aligned with everyone who lives with this condition. A majority have lost hope.
Mm-hmm.
A majority don't have that confidence in them to take over life, and everything else, they have given up on their dreams. They believe they're not good enough, and so on and so forth. I want this information to reach out to the immediate support system, the cover, the umbrella, from doctors, parents, employers. This is something we need to touch on, and we need to go knee deep, because even employers, there are some employers who still consider hyperhidrosis an issue.
Right.
This is a big problem. Some of the employees, they have hyperhidrosis, but because they feel alone, and because that's how we feel. You feel like you're by yourself. You're in an organization where you're the only person with excessive sweating. So even if you go, or rather you send an email or try to talk to the HR or the administration, on how they can improve maybe the medical cover or how they can assist you, it becomes an issue the moment you mention the word sweat. Right? I think hyperhidrosis awareness, it's paramount. It's paramount and it's imperative. Dan, thank you very much. Asante sana, nashukuru, and all the best, man. All the best. We'll link up.
Until next time, thanks again.
Until next time, sweat with a purpose. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.